All right, again, two Bears Talk live to you, blowing Lenoir-Rhyne in the hand to all our fans against tonight. As we talk Lenoir-Rhyne for the next few minutes, and we're going to bring in the Bears, Chronic. Coach, again, congratulations on winning last week. The Bears win their fourth in a row.
Yeah, it was great. It was great to have a home game on a Saturday. And great to finally see what an amazing atmosphere it was. So a lot of fun, and glad we could play well and find a way to win the game.
Did some checking, and you talked about the atmosphere after the game, right before the fireworks, and it was a very good crowd. A lot of fans there seeing the Bears for the first time, really, between the bricks at night. Lenoir-Rhyne has led the South Atlantic Conference in attendance over the last 15 or 16 years. Last year, led the league with 4,300 fans, and I think a bigger crowd than that was there the other night. But what did that mean, seeing that crowd? What did it mean for the players and the coaching staff to see that support?
Well, just, there's a lot of energy out there, and people, you want to play in front of a big crowd, and you see how much it means to the community. The community has been so good to us, and you want to go play well for them. You want people to be excited about their football program because they're so invested in you. So I know my wife and kids had a great time having the fireworks at the end. So it was good to get that win, and just see everybody, see all those people tailgating. So a lot of fun. I can't imagine at the small college level. I can't imagine a better atmosphere.
Let's dive into the game. Bears led at halftime 14-10, and then broke the game open in the second half. Almost a complete reversal of the previous week against Wingate. What did you do in the second half offensively that you came away pleased with?
I think we just played better. I think we executed better. I mean, we found some things. We kind of figured out in a couple formations where they were lining up, but we played better up front. I thought, Grayson hit the throws, and he missed a couple of those throws in the first half, and we just played better. We executed better, and our defense is playing so well. We keep getting opportunities offensively because our defense is getting right back off the field and getting us the ball back. So I think we just executed better the second half.
We talked on the broadcast, and we talk every once in a while, each and every week. Two hardest things I think in football to do are to run the football and stop the run. Mm-hmm. And you did both of that in the second half, and did both of that really the last couple of weeks.
Yes, I think our defense gave up 1 yard per carry in the game, which is unbelievable, especially to a team who had really been running for a lot of yards. And I think we averaged 6.3 yards per carry. It was about 350 yards rushing. So when you're able to do that, you're probably going to have a chance to win the game. So it was good to be physical up front on both sides of the ball, and really kind of impose our will a little bit up front.
We discussed, and we'll talk about the defense in just a couple of minutes, but one area we haven't discussed as much is the offensive line. For that unit, and we were talking before the show, sometimes the offensive line is the last unit on the football team to come together. Are you starting to see an improvement there?
We are at times. It is, though. It's a 5-man unit that has to learn to play together, and this is a completely different style, than what they've been used to in the past. And Coach Bodine's done an amazing job with those guys. A lot of them have trimmed down because we needed them to trim down because we need guys who can move. But I think every game they get a little more comfortable, and we've really seen the last 2 weeks two big physical defenses, and we're going to see another one this Saturday. So every week we get an opportunity to play against quality competition. That's going to push us and make us grow. So I see us getting better every week, and to be able to run the ball like that, that's a big deal when you can just hand it off and get yards.
We saw some big plays last week on the running attack, and that was Mean Stevens had a great game. Over 150 yards rushing, including a big 70-couple-yard run in the second half, and that seemed to get a lot of the momentum in the Bears' favor. How has he come along, Mean Stevens, and his improvement this year as a freshman?
Well, obviously he's a true freshman. Not too long ago he was sitting in a high school classroom. He is 230 pounds, and he has unbelievable feet. Really, he has feet like a 180-pound kid. And so he's growing and learning the system, and he's becoming more physical. I think he's getting used to playing college ball now. It was probably happening a little fast for him in game one and game two. It's starting to slow down for him a little bit, and you can see he is a strong kid that runs behind his pads. He's hard to get down, and he can get out there and and go a little bit, I was making fun of him, after I said, buddy, if it had only been a 70-yard run, you just scored a touchdown. It was an 80-yard run, so you got tackled inside the 10. But that's good to have a big back like that to pound it up in there when you really need to get tough yards.
And again, here's a kid that I did some research. He played down in Savannah, Georgia, and was on a very good high school team. I think the quarterback was recruited and signed with the Citadel, and and a wide receiver went somewhere up in Michigan, Western Michigan. So he's coming from a program that was very good. How did you first hear about him?
Well, Coach Foster was recruiting down in that area, and I think he had kind of found out about him from being at Reinhardt the year before and recruiting that area. And he was a kid who had good enough grades. And down in South Georgia, sometimes you can get some kids, that not as many people go to that. Everybody goes to Atlanta to recruit just because you got so many schools close by. But when you get down into South Georgia a little bit, sometimes you can get out off the beaten path a little bit and find some guys. And we just happened to get fortunate to find him down there.
And, of course, Bear fans are very happy that he decided to come to Lenoir-Rhyne. Let's speak of another guy offensively that has really blossomed has been T.J. Smith. 3 touchdown catches last week. He now has a bunch, and he's a kid that started his college career at Fork Union, went to Concord in West Virginia, wound up for a little bit in South Carolina in the spring practice, and all of a sudden, I know he's been plagued by injuries the last couple of years, but he has really come to be a big play threat for the Bears.
He is, and TJ really can run. I mean, he really has good speed, and he's just playing with a lot of confidence right now. And he's a captain. He's just a great leader in our program. He comes to practice every day. He really works. That's really important to him. And Grayson does a good job throwing those deep balls, allowing TJ. He throws them in spots where TJ can just go and get them. And he's really been a good weapon for us because when you run the offense we run, defensively you kind of have to make some decisions. Do you want to stack the box, try to stop the run, and leave one-on-one coverage out there with that split end, or do you want to double that split end? Well, if you leave him one-on-one, he's pretty good, and we get a chance to throw it down the field to him, hit him on some shorter things too, and just mix up those routes. But he's definitely been a weapon. He's got behind people almost every game so far. We got to keep trying to get him the ball.
Over on the defensive side, you mentioned some of the numbers, the Bears defensively the last couple of games. If you add them all up, they've given up barely over 100 yards on the ground in 2 games with about a 1 or 2 yard average. What's the defense doing so well to shut down teams these last couple of weeks?
Well, we got good players on defense, first of all. Our first 11 now, they're as good as anybody in this league. And then Coach Aldridge has really done a good job just coaching and teaching. And, Coach Long, Coach Cole, the whole defensive staff, they're keeping it simple. We're playing gaps. We're playing good fundamentals. And I feel like we're really good at every position on defense. We're really solid. There's just, everybody's a pretty good player. And so he's got them playing hard. They're running to the ball. They're believing in what's going on. They're trusting each other. Because defense, you got to trust. You got to do your job because you're counting on somebody else to do their job. I got to get my gap. You got to get your gap. I got to make sure I keep people in front of me. If I'm in the secondary. And so really, if you look at the numbers, they've been playing well the whole season. Now we had the second and third game. We played a lot of backups in the second half, so it skewed it a little bit, but. Our defense is not giving up many points at all and really giving us the ball back. I mean, ton of 3-and-outs. I think it was like 10 3-and-outs in the game by our defense, which is phenomenal to get back off the field and give our offense another chance. So really proud of those guys. It's really nice as a head coach to know, hey, we can stop them. And that changes the way sometimes that I call the offense. Knowing that, hey, our defense has got them under control. We just need to make sure we pound out some yards here, get some first downs, keep them off the field, and know that we don't have to score 50 points to win. We just need to get a few scores in there, and our defense will hold them. So that's really good to know that.
You spoke about the upcoming opponent, Newberry, and the only 2 teams left in the South Atlantic Conference that are undefeated are the Bears at 3-0 and Newberry at 1-0. They come in with a very good defense as well. If you look at the numbers, talk about the Red Wolves. I want to call them the Indians. Used to be called the Indians, now called the Red Wolves.
Right. To be honest with you, they remind me a lot of us on defense. They are good at every position. They're not doing a lot of crazy stuff. They're just lining up and playing good fundamental defense. They're running to the ball. They're big and physical and fast. And, they've given up 3 points total the last 2 games, really played good defense, nearly beat Western Carolina. So we're going to have a great challenge offensively. They're good on defense, no doubt.
What are you telling the kids? I know having won 4 straight in the last couple of years, some of these guys have not experienced that kind of winning. What are you trying to do to keep their heads level?
Well, we talked about in the team meeting the other day, when I first got here, we asked certain things of them. We ramped up the accountability, and we talked about, our coaching staff leading until they learned how to lead. Okay, and then to fast track this thing, to try to win a championship as quickly as possible, it was going to have to become player-driven. And they've really bought into that. I see our guys growing. I see great leadership. I see them trusting the coaches. I see them trusting each other. So it's really about having a good attitude and going to practice every day getting a little bit better, and understanding that you've got to prepare for these games. Every week, it doesn't matter what we did against Tusculum. That's not going to make one difference in this game this Saturday. It's going to matter how we prepare and how we play this Saturday. And I see us growing into that. And the more and more that happens, the more player-driven it becomes, the quicker we're going to get to a championship season.
And it's so surprising the fact that this is such a young team. You mentioned about TJ being a senior, but this is such a young football team when you look at the guys that are in the key positions. There are only 3 seniors on the squad.
There's only 3 seniors, and all 3 of them are on offense. So I'm really proud of this group. Now, the seniors we have are being really good leaders, but we got a great junior class that's showing leadership, and that's trickling down. And there's freshmen that are contributing to what we're doing. You look on offense, and you got a true freshman starting at tight end. Drake Starks, he's played really well. And then Amin Stevens is a true freshman. Defensively, our little corner out there, Javoris, has really made a lot of plays, and he's a true freshman. So that trickles down. The leadership trickles down. And I think when you have good leadership in the upper class, those younger guys really see and they buy in too. And that's when you get a program going, is when that just continues every year. You have the next group steps up, and they want to do what the previous group did. And that's player-driven. That's where we got to get to as soon as we can.
And you spoke about some of the leaders, and on defense, you have a special guest here tonight, Clayton Horn, the South Atlantic Conference Defensive Player of the Week. Fans give Clayton Horn a big hand. He's going to join us in just a second. What has he meant to you in getting to know him, and what has he meant to that defense?
Well, first of all, Clayton, the highest compliment I can give anybody is that I trust him, and I trust Clayton. I know when if he tells me it's raining, I better get my umbrella, and he's done everything we've asked him to do. He's just a really solid football player, and he's really smart. He gets guys lined up. He's where he's supposed to be. He's physical, and he runs good enough. That's what we always talk about. He runs good enough, and I think he's had, in the past 2 weeks, he's had probably close to 30 tackles. He was our heavy hitter of the week winner this week. But he's just been solid. Consistent. That's all you can ask for somebody. And he's kind of, like I said, he's the middle of that defense, and he's really been a good leader for us. I'm really proud of him.
Let's give him a hand. Clayton Horn, Mount Pleasant, North Carolina native. Thanks, Coach. Congratulations. Continue. Good luck.
Yes, sir.
How you doing?
Clayton, good to see you, man. 2 years in a row we got a chance to talk. And
yes, sir.
this defense doing very well. Let's go back to the Wingate game. You had a fine game against Wingate. I thought should have been maybe the South Atlantic Conference Defensive Player of the Week. Talk about that defense and how it played against Wingate, first off, in the kind of game that you had.
First off, I think that our coaches did a really good job of just giving us a really good scheme. And then just in practice, I felt like we had a really great week of practice. I felt like we knew their tendencies so well that's really what allowed me to play so well. Is I just felt like before whenever they lined up, I kind of already had an idea of what they were going to do. So that just allowed me to be in the right position and make the right plays. And so I think that's the biggest contributor to our success on defense that game. That,
I'll say a turning point, but some key plays, critical plays late in the game. You were part of both of them. One was the interception by Kyle Duggar. They called a flag on you. Was that a penalty in your eye? I didn't think so. It depends. Football in 2018 as opposed to football in 1990 or 2000.
Right. I was just playing football. I was just trying to affect his throw, but maybe it was a little late looking back on it. But it is what it is. We got the stop, and that's really what matters.
And you were part of that on the goal line on fourth down. Guys came from the corner. You came over top. I think you did a Troy Polamalu. You just leaped over the whole pile there and helped stop the guy there at the quarterback's at the 1 yard line, and then the Bears came out and threw a long pass. But defensively, Did you notice at the Wingate game and now leading into the Tusculum game that you saw this defense really starting to grow and become a dominant type defense?
Yes, sir. I think that each game we've gotten more and more confidence. We're a group of guys that have we all started as freshmen, and we're still all juniors, but we've gotten that experience together, so we know each other really well. So we play really well together. As each game goes forward, I think we just see how good that we can be, and so hopefully, that's going to continue.
You always hear running backs talk about their offensive linemen and giving them a lot of credit for the holes opening up. I would guess the guys up in front of you, the defensive linemen, sometimes take up one or two blockers, allow you to flow and make a lot of tackles. Talk about what those guys have done this year and how much they mean to you in terms of the way this defense goes.
Yes, sir. Those guys have been amazing this year. Dan Luba, he's a beast. It takes at least two guys to block him every play. I know they've done a really good job pressuring the quarterback. That really helps our DBs as well in coverage. So, when we're getting to the quarterback, that affects the guys running routes and stuff like that, so our DBs can cover them. When our guys are taking up blocks on the run, that allows me to fit the holes and fit the gaps and make tackles in space. So they've been huge for us this year. Definitely a big part of our defense.
One of the teams that the Bears have struggled with the last couple of years has been Newberry, and you have a chance now. You have to go down there and play them. Looking back the last couple of years you've played them, they've had the Bears' number. As you look at Newberry and watching some film this week, what do you see out of this year's offensive team for Newberry that maybe compare them to what you have seen the last couple of years?
They're always an athletic team. They have a lot of speed. But I think where they lack is discipline. If you go out early and you hit them in the mouth, they're going to fold. They're not really a team that really handles adversity very well. So a big thing for us is going to be coming out early and really throwing the first punch. But they're definitely a good team. They have the potential to make big plays. A lot of athletes. So
when I had you here as guest here last year, we talked about you growing up as a football player, Mount Pleasant. How did you hear about Lenoir-Rhyne?
I really heard about LR when I had my best friend back home. His dad actually played here back in like 80s or 90s, Eddie Ski. I came up here when I was like a freshman, came up for a few visits throughout high school. I really enjoyed the atmosphere. I really like the Hickory community. It really just feels kind of like back home. Like Mount Pleasant football is really the center of the town, and I kind of get that vibe from Hickory too. It's really LR's like the centerpiece for Hickory, and so it's just a good feel for me, a good fit for me.
Tell some of the fans that are here tonight why you changed your number. You were 55 when you first came here. Now you're 35.
I kind of just got given the number 55 when I was a freshman. Really the reason for changing was you don't really see too many 55s in college. Most of the linebackers in the NFL are in the 50s, but when you're in college, it's usually lower. So I figured, have a little bit of swag and maybe go a little lower.
Growing up, who was a football hero of yours?
Right now my favorite player is Luke Kuechly. I love the way that he's just always prepared. He's always in the right spot. He's a great athlete, but the thing that makes Luke Kuechly so good is that he knows what the offense is going to do before they even line up. I heard one of the offensive linemen from the Bengals talking one time, and they were saying, 40% of the time when they broke the huddle, he was calling out their play, and so that's kind of what I strive to be, is just to know the offense, know their tendencies, and know what they're going to do, so I can be in the right spot.
And you've been doing it very well, as good as anybody in the South Atlantic Conference the last couple of weeks. Fans, give a hand to Bear linebacker, junior Clayton Horn. Clayton, thank you. Continue, good luck. We're going to switch subjects with football talk and bring in the head tennis coach for Lenoir-Rhyne, Mr. Tom Rees, who is the director of tennis, now in his third year at Lenoir-Rhyne. And just to tell you a little bit about him, last year the men's tennis team finished 13-9, best ever in program history, and their first ever appearance in the South Atlantic Conference tournament. Coach, welcome again.
Thanks, Juju. Good to be here.
As always, pleasure to talk to you and talk about this year's squad. As you look ahead, you're just getting started, coming up. What kind of team are you expecting to have this year coming off last year's winning season?
I'll tell you more about it in February when I've seen him play some matches, but we have a very exciting team on both sides this year. The guys who brought in 4 freshmen, so they could potentially be 4 of the top 6 if they play well. So brand new squad almost. The girls, we have 2 true freshmen coming in the fall, or came in the fall, 1 coming in January. Again, all 3 have a shot to be in the top 6. So we're continuing to build and push forward. You know, the guys have set the goal this year of becoming a nationally ranked tennis program. And both teams want to finish as high as they possibly can in the South Atlantic Conference and continue to build their legacy as LR Bears.
As if fans go online at lrbears.com and check out the roster of both men and or women, it is an international flavor indeed. They got players from all over the world. I think only 1 from men and 1 from women, maybe from this area. One's from, I guess, Burke County, and the other is from Iredell County, I think. Everybody else is, you'd have to have a world map. How does that happen? How do you guys able to recruit internationally to come to Hickory, North Carolina?
Well, we went up. We doubled our Americans this year. We went up from 2 to 4 total. We're 4 out of 22 right now. That's probably the highest in the South Atlantic. And we got Cam Tucker. He's our lone American on the men's side. We call him the best Iredell County's ever seen. So he drives up the road every day. He commutes from home. He's one of my favorite guys. And we got 3 girls. We have Taylor Frederickson from Valdez, Spencer Cochran is a freshman from Charlotte, and we got Allie Garofoli that came all the way down from Springboro, Ohio. So we're pretty American this year, Juju. But no, in general, these days, we work with, we probably have a list of 50 different recruiting agents and scouts that we work with all over the world. They each have their different territory. And every year I raise the standards and say, hey, this is the standard we're looking for this year if we want to get better. And they put me in touch with some players they think will fit. And as soon as we sell them on the LR Dream, they get hooked pretty quickly.
You came from Illinois Springfield with Kim Pate, coached there when she was the athletic director there. What swayed your opinion to leave to come to Lenoir-Rhyne?
Kim Pate, my wife, and the weather. I think that's a real easy answer for me. Kim's been a good leader. She hired me, gave me my first head coaching position, so it's great working for her. My wife's a Southern Belle. She's from Atlanta, so it's kind of a no-brainer to come back south. And I'm a tennis coach, so I don't particularly love playing tennis in like 25 degrees, you know.
Tell us a little bit more about your background. You're native of Worcester, England. How did you make it to America to coach tennis?
Yeah, Worcester, the home of the world's greatest sauce. That's our claim to fame. Lucky really. I came over 10, 11 years ago, played 1 year for Tusculum, and I'd never been to America before. My only idea of what America was like was American Pie and Disney. So I came to Greenville. That wasn't the greatest fit for me, but I got really lucky and transferred to UNC Asheville, and Asheville's a great city and just an hour up the road. So had a great 4 years as a player, and really enjoying life back in Western North Carolina now.
And you can relay that to some of your recruits and some of your players coming in. I'm sure some of them are going to get homesick. Are going to get homesick, and you can talk to them about that kind of issue to let them get over that.
Yeah, we've all been there. Like, we've all been away from home and had a little bit of that homesick feeling, but we're trying to build a culture where they feel like as soon as they walk on campus, their family is there waiting for them and they have friends straight away. Once they get involved in the day-to-day practices and classes and community engagement, I think they fit in fairly quickly, but we're always there. I tell the players that if it's a genuine issue, you can call me at 4 o'clock in the morning and I'll be there for you. I'm not going to tell you what time practice is at 4 o'clock in the morning, but any big issues, I'll be there, and our coaching staff will be there to help them get settled in.
What's fall schedule like? I was looking on the website today. You have some tournaments going on, or had some tournaments. I guess the women's team played this past Sunday.
Yeah, we're 1-0. We're undefeated right now, so long may that continue. But the fall is a mixture of individual tournaments where the players go and they put on the LR Cardinal and Black and they compete as an individual, and also of dual matches. So each team, I think, has 2, 3, or maybe even 4 dual matches this fall, which count for the record. And so we carry over a few matches going into the spring, and we schedule some matches in the fall that we try and get everybody some playing time in, so we can try some different doubles formations and things like that. So the women played Fayetteville State last weekend, got the job done, and we got everybody some playing time. They will play, I think, Fairmont State and Shaw University before this semester is done, and the guys have a doubleheader coming up also against Montreat and Johnson C. Smith.
So it is busy. Tennis has become a year-round sport, just like all the other collegiate sports, right?
Yeah, we're year-round. That quiet period is kind of Halloween or, early October through final exams. That's kind of going to be their quiet period. But we have a good group. We expect them to do more than the minimum. We tell them that if you do the minimum, you're going to achieve the minimum. So even in that quiet period, they're doing a lot of work on their own to get stronger on and off the court.
And it has shown the Bears coming off a 13-9 season, their best in school history in tennis. Coach Tom Rees, thank you.
Thanks, Juju. Appreciate it.
And pleasure always talking to you. Come back and join us anytime. As Coach Cronick started your dinner yet, I want to ask you a couple more questions, if you don't mind. I didn't mention a couple of things about Coach Cronick. Had a chance to meet his father last week. He came up in the booth. Yeah, oh, great. Came up and joined us at halftime, and we could not tear the microphone away from him. He was a joy to talk to.
Yep.
So I see where you get your personality from.
My dad's a mess now. He came up, and it's great to have him here. And really, I grew up around this game, and my dad is my hero. That's who I wanted to be like, and he did it the right way. And did it with Christian values, was hard on kids, but loved kids, loves working with young people. Got to start a program with him at Reinhardt. We got to do that together, which was an unbelievable blessing for me, so he's retired now. He's playing golf about 5 days a week, and when he came up, he was playing golf with Jack Huss on Saturday, and Mike Earwood, who's an alumni, they came up together. He's a proud dad. But I told, I was telling some people earlier, I knew growing up that my dad loved me, and that's always important. When your daddy thinks highly of you, he was hard on me, but I knew he loved me, and we had a great experience when I played for him in high school. Then we had another great experience getting to start the program together at Reinhardt. So he hadn't got to be up here a whole lot to this point, so it was good to have him here this weekend.
We asked him, and I asked him, he wasn't exactly sure. I asked him, when did he notice that you were going to make it your life's work to be a coach? When did you start thinking about becoming a coach?
I don't know that there's ever been any other thing I wanted to do. I remember being little, and he's head coach at LaGrange High School in Georgia, and watching film, watching the reel-to-reel, the 16 millimeter, and it's just all I've ever. I can't imagine doing anything else. So he tried to talk me out of it. Honestly, why don't you go be a doctor or a lawyer? I said, Dad, that's not what I want to do. So, but he's, we're running a lot of his stuff. That he, had. He was a wing tee guy, and he was kind of always on the cutting edge. He was, he would get in the shotgun with it. He was throwing the football out of it. And so there's a lot of things we do that we call it the same thing he called it, 30 years ago. There's a lot of his hand on a lot of that stuff.
He pointed out to us up in the booth that the coach at Tusculum, his father was a high school coach in Florida who ran the wing tee. Right. So he had 14 days to prepare for that as well, and some background.
Well, Coach Odom and I have known each other for a while, and we were actually talking about that in pregame. And he was a high school coach at Coffee High School down in Georgia at one time. So he and I have some similar background. But yeah, a lot of people. The wing tee was pretty popular there in the '90s. And I'm glad now that it's not popular anymore. I don't want anybody else to do it. I don't want anybody else to see it or look at it. Just when they play us.
I asked your dad, and I think maybe Jack did too, about after a game when you guys are sitting around. Do you watch film together? Is he still hard on you about play calling and coaching?
Of course he is. He's. He has access to our Huddle account, so he watches every practice, so every once in a while I'll get a phone call, and it'll be like, son, I saw so and so do this. What are y'all doing? I said, Dad, we're fixing it, okay. But he watches and he takes, and it's important to him, And now he's got a grandson right now playing quarterback at East Coweta High School down in Georgia, so that's got a lot of his attention right now. But he watches from afar, and he knows what's going on. And then, like I said, every once in a while I'll get a phone call asking me what the heck I'm doing. And I generally try to fix it pretty quick because those phone calls are, he can get after me a little bit.
Well, you're fixing a lot of things well, and a lot of things are going well for the Bears. Again, 4-1. Good luck this weekend against Newberry.
right.
I wanted to get you up here and talk about your dad.
Thank you.
I kind of rushed through things here. I had Clayton standing there. He was getting ready to eat his food. I wanted to get him up here. But
Clayton was
Coach-
hungry.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks again.
Thank
Folks,
you.
that's going to do it for another Bears Talk Live. We want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I'm Juju Phillips. Don't forget broadcast time this coming Saturday, set for 3:45 at Newberry. Join us then. If you can't be with us on the air, come back with us next Tuesday night right here, 7 o'clock at Blowing Rock Brewery. Till then, until next week, I'm Juju Phillips. So long, everyone, and go Bears.